Welcome back to the program. I'm joined now by Marshall Stewart. He's the CEO of Greenway Equipment Company. Last year, the company led a very successful effort to address food insecurity and scarcity in Arkansas. It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Welcome
Thanks
back,
for having
Marshall.
me.
Tell everybody what you did last year, how successful it was, and what do you have planned for this year?
So last year, we've been providing Jason Aldean with equipment at his farm over in Tennessee, and so we decided, instead of doing just a financial contribution, why don't we see if we couldn't do a little bit better? So we donated the gator to the food banks and had a campaign, a donation campaign to sell tickets for that, and then we drew, and it was a great response by the community to address food insecurity for children. We raised a little over $110,000 last year, and we split that up between the food banks of here in Little Rock, Northeast Arkansas, and then in Sikeston, Missouri, in the region that we operate in.
You're obviously in the agricultural space, but tell me why this particular issue of food scarcity is so big for your organization.
Well, you know, when we live in a region that's known for feeding the world, we just think it's a very terrible thing to have food insecurity right here at home. And especially those children who, irregardless of how far one may be on the right or the left, you know, it's hard to not have compassion and sympathy for children facing food insecurity when it's outside of their control.
We have a under 40 forum leadership group that we do every year with the Rockefeller Institute and the Clinton School of Public Service. They met this past week, as a matter of fact, and took up the issue of poverty and food insecurity. May I put the two of you together for some recommendations on how to work and collaborate a little bit more?
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that, like I said, when you're tied to agriculture and you look at what all's going on around the world, and then how much more developed of a country we are than most places, and to still have some of these problems, it's something that really needs to be addressed.
Let's shift and talk about the agricultural economy.
Okay.
Between the weather and tariffs and low commodity prices, it's been a tough few years for the agricultural community there. That kind of put it in perspective for me, historically speaking, because you've seen some ebb and flow. Where are we kind of now in terms of what you see in the agricultural economy?
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of things on the horizon that could really generate some tailwinds for the industry. We've been fighting some headwinds since 2014 when commodity prices started going down. You know, we had new farm programs that came into effect during that caused some uncertainty for different folks and had to get adjusted to how the new farm bill was working. So we think with the deal that the United States and China have made, we think that if some of those things do come to fruition, that could really generate some positive tailwinds for the agricultural community. When you start looking at the most over the last 20 years that we've been able to import or export to China was around $29 billion.
Right.
And we're sitting here in this phase one deal. The first year is supposed to be $36.5 billion. I mean, that's a huge increase over our all-time high.
We've got to watch out for that coronavirus, though.
That's right. And that's some of the
Yeah.
things that have everybody very concerned. So it all sounds good, but we're not seeing the orders getting placed at this point. You know, I think China's come back and said, hey, because of this coronavirus, gives a little bit of leeway in some of this stuff. And so those are some things that, if they do come to fruition, would be very good. You know, you look at it going from $36.5 billion to then the next year in 21, it's supposed to be 43.5 to make a two-year total of $80 billion. That would be huge, especially when you look at where we've been the last couple of years, just right at the $10 billion mark in exports to China.
I think it's been worth it to do the negotiation that the president has taken on in terms of the tariff war that he's implemented.
So it's been difficult and has placed a lot of strain in the agriculture sector. We did have the MFP payments to help offset that. So when you look at net farm income over the course of the last couple of years, you've not seen them go down tremendously. Actually, I think 18 was up 1% and 19 was up 2%, projected to be flat in 20. But we don't know what's going to happen with this phase one deal with China, so that could have some impact on that. I think largely it has been very supported in the agricultural community because we want to be when you get into currency fixing and how that affects imports and exports and all those kind of things, you know, we just want a level playing field to be able to compete on the global market. If we can get that, you know, I think American agriculture is efficient enough that if we get a level playing field, we can win.
All right, USMCA will be big too.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of that's been lost as this phase 1 deal's gotten done, but I think that was a really good deal to have the U.S., Mexico, Canada free trade, or NAFTA 2, whatever you want to call it, done. Waiting on Canada, I think, to get that ratified in their government, but that'll have a positive impact on agriculture as well.
All right, Marshall Stewart, CEO of Greenway Equipment Company. Thank you for being here, and thanks for doing what you're doing on the Hunger
Thank
front
you, Roby.
there. All right,
Appreciate it.
that's all for today's edition of Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. We will see you next time.
When homemade is too good to keep at home. Helping Arkansas business do business. Making better happen with First Security.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.